Gregor the Overlander, Book 1 in the Underland Chronicles by Suzanne Collins, best-selling author of The Hunger Games. Chapter 1. Gregor had pressed his forehead against the screen for so long he could feel a pattern of tiny checks above his eyebrows. He ran his fingers over the bumps and resisted the impulse to let out a primal caveman scream. It was building up in his chest, that long, guttural howl reserved for real emergencies, like when you ran into a saber-toothed tiger without your club, or your fire went out during the Ice Age. He even went so far as to open his mouth and take a deep breath before he banged his head back into the screen with a quiet sound of frustration. Urgh. What was the point, anyway? It wouldn't change one thing. Not the heat, not the boredom, not the endless space of summer laid out before him. Alrighty, so first page observations. We've got the name Gregor, which is not a typical name. Okay, so I'm used to seeing names like Greg or Gregory, but not Gregor. I noticed right away that Collins' writing style has a lot of imagery. I can picture the tiny checks above his eyebrows from the screen. I can hear this primal caveman scream. We've got a lot of allusions to your club and the saber-toothed tiger and the Ice Age, right? And then the second paragraph, it says, what's the point? We've got this long time of summer, which I think some kids can relate to. Most of us look forward to summer, right? Nothing being forced on us. I don't have to get to school early, but there is something about that vast open amount of time with nothing to do. So it kind of catches my attention right away. That imagery, the word choice is really good. I think Suzanne Collins does a really good job of grabbing our attention on page 1. Let's see what they have for us on pages 2 and 3. He considered waking up Boots, his 2-year-old sister, just for a little distraction. But he let her sleep. At least she was cool in the air-conditioned bedroom she shared with their 7-year-old sister Lizzie and their grandma. It was the only air-conditioned room in the apartment. On really hot nights, Gregor and his mother could spread quilts on the floor to sleep, but with 5 in the room, it wasn't cool, just lukewarm. Gregor got an ice cube from the freezer and rubbed it on his face. He stared out at the courtyard where a stray dog sniffed around an overflowing trash can. The dog set its paws on the rim, tipping the can and sending the garbage across the sidewalk. Gregor caught a glimpse of a couple of shadowy shapes scurrying along the wall and grimaced. Rats. He never really got used to them. Otherwise, the courtyard was deserted. Usually it was full of kids playing ball, jumping rope, or swinging around the creaky jungle gym. But this morning, the bus had left for camp, and every kid between the ages of 4 and 14 had been on it, except one. I'm sorry, baby, you can't go, his mother had told him a few weeks ago, and she really had been sorry, too. He could tell by the look on her face. Someone has to watch Boots while I'm at work, and we both know your grandma can't handle it anymore. Of course he knew it. For the last year, his grandma had been slipping in and out of reality. One minute she was clear as a bell, and the next she was calling him Simon. Who was Simon? He had no clue. It would have been different a few years ago. His mom only worked part-time then, and his dad, who'd taught high school science, was off summers. He'd have taken care of Boots. But since his dad had disappeared one night, Gregor's role in the family had changed. He was the oldest, so he'd picked up a lot of the slack. Looking after his little sisters was a big part of it. So all Gregor had said was, "That's okay, Mom. Camp's for kids anyway." He'd shrugged to show that at 11 he was past caring about things like camp. But somehow that made her look sadder. "Do you want Lizzie to stay home with you? Give you some company?" she'd asked. A look of panic had crossed Lizzie's face at the suggestion. She probably would have burst into tears if Gregor hadn't refused the offer. Nah, let her go. I'll be fine with Boots. Okay, so now reviewing on pages 2 and 3, right? I'm still deciding if I want to read this whole book. I really like the word choice still. I still feel like I'm in this hot, sticky place. I can relate. Houston summers are hot. Gregor's in this tough spot where he's still a kid. He's 11 years old, but he's having to act a lot older. He seems pretty empathetic too. He's not grumbling that he has to take care of his little sister. He's disappointed, but he understands why he has to do it because grandma's not reliable. So that shows a maturity that I think even older readers can relate to in the main character so far. The bottom of page 2, the way he describes his mom, the way she says, "Baby, you can't go," and her face, that makes me feel that connection between he and his mom, that there's a closeness there. Colin sets up a good little mystery there, kind of quietly, right? She's like, "Oh, Dad went missing." Oh, well, where is Dad? Gregor's not telling us that yet. And we also have the question of who is Simon? Why is Grandma using that name? So we've got some little Easter eggs dropped there that we might be able to find out more later. So I think just in the first 3 pages that there's plenty here with the word choice, the description, the feelings that a lot of young adults can relate to from Gregor. I think there's a lot here, and we haven't even gotten into any of the fantasy that the author has for us.